Before we start, I just want to shout out Katie Ann because without her influence, I definitely would not have started making mood boards at all. Hello everybody, my name is Danny and welcome back to my channel. Today, as you could tell from the title and also my little intro clip, we are going to be talking about mood boards. Specifically, I'm going to be showing you 5 mood boards from characters from my current work in progress, the Queen's Quartet. If you didn't know, this story follows Juno as she travels to rescue her younger sister who was kidnapped. And so the 5 mood boards I will be showing you today are for Juno and her 4 traveling companions. Before we get started talking about those, I just want to once again mention Katie Ann and let you guys know that there will be several links in the description below for you to check out her videos that she has made on mood boards. She is infinitely better at making them than I am, and you really should check them out. So first up we have Juno, our protagonist. She is the Queen of Lovastava, and I actually have an entire video where I talk about her when I did the main character tag, so I will link that for you guys to check out in case you're curious. So starting off with the large picture over on the right side of the screen, this is just a visual representation of Juno with her light skin and dark hair, but it also shows what I call a justice mask, which is important to the book. In the opening scene, Juno is participating in what is called Hearing Day, which is where the citizens of Lovastava, instead of going through the court system, can come and air their grievances directly to the Queen, and this happens once a month, and like I said, the opening scene of this book takes place on this hearing day, and in order to keep that whole justice being blind aspect, I decided it'd be really cool if Juno had to wear these fancy justice masks in order for her not to be able to see who she's talking to, and that way there would be no preconceived notions. Next, there is this little snippet of dialogue about being a monster, and that really doesn't come into play until book 4, but that whole aspect of what is a monster and what isn't is a really big theme in book 4. The next picture is inspired by The Lady of the Lake, and that is because this book is very loosely an Arthurian retelling, and there's this really cool scene in book 1 where Juno is kind of the Lady of the Lake and also kind of Arthur at the same time, and it's weird to say that out loud, but it makes sense in the context of the scene. Then there is the quote about being half human, half universe, and that is something that is very central to Juno's struggle. She is part human, part Nixie, which is a Germanic water spirit, and this is something she struggles with greatly, because magic isn't really something that is accepted very widely in this world. And finally, we just have a golden peacock feather, because the peacock is the sacred animal of the Roman goddess Juno, after whom my character Juno is named, so it seemed fitting. Next up, we have Garrick, who is a half-human, half-dwarf that the main group meets somewhere along the way, and he joins with them, kind of like as a guide, because he is actually from the place where my characters are trying to get to. So I included this quote about intelligence because Garrick is always wanting to learn more and better himself. And then the picture below that is just to represent that he uses rune magic, though he doesn't do it through rune stones like in the picture. It's more of like drawing them and them being filled with his like innate magic ability. And it's kind of hard to explain when I'm just talking out loud like this, but hopefully it gets portrayed a lot better in the book. Speaking of runes, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, but the rune in the middle is Ansuz, which has a lot of meanings, as runes do, but the reason I included it in Garrick's mood board is because of its relationship to ancestry, inheritance, the divine, and imagination, which are all very central to Garrick's character. Then I also just have a picture of an owl because they represent knowledge and wisdom. And then the final quote in the bottom corner just goes along with how Garrick struggles a lot with his identity just like Juno does, and the legacy of his family. Up next, we have Maria. They are someone who is very much focused on the present rather than living in the past, which is what I think that Feather's quote kind of represents in her mood board. If I were to assign them a D&D class, they would totally be a rogue, which is where the picture in the bottom left comes from. Then the center is just a visual representation of what they look like. The quote about hope falls very much in line with how strong-headed and determined Maria is. And then the bottom picture just kind of fits their vibes more than anything. It doesn't have any specific significance to the story. And here we have Oksana. And again, the big picture is just meant as visual representation more than anything else. The quote about protecting her family is because she's extremely protective of her family, mostly her brother Mikola, who we will see in the next mood board. Oksana is a very strong warrior, and I can totally see her wielding an axe, which is why that picture is included here. Then the other quote about being free is because her and her brother come from a very troubled and sheltered background, and so she values her freedom above pretty much everything else. And then the final picture is because she's a very skilled rider, and I really love the action portrayed in that image, and I thought it fit Oksana very well. And last but not least, we have Mikola. So, like his sister, he is a very skilled rider, and so I included a picture of a horse in his mood board as well, but I wanted some contrast between the two mood boards, so Oksana's has a dark colored horse and Mikola's has a light colored horse, but also I just feel like that picture fit this mood board much better because aesthetically, all of these pictures have much lighter backgrounds than Oksana's did. Then the quote below the picture of the horse just represents how he was brought up from a very young age to be a fighter, just like Oksana was, but she was also taught stuff like nuanced diplomatic skills, whereas his education was pretty much solely focused on combat. Then the center image is, as you can probably guess, a visual reference. Then the quote on the right shows how, like his sister, he values his freedom above pretty much all else, and he prides himself on having control over all aspects of his life. And finally, the last picture of the bloody handprint actually is representative of an injury that he sustains, causing him to lose some function in one of his hands. And I also just thought the bloody nature of it fit with the overall vibe of this mood board. And so there you have it. Those are 5 of my main characters in the Queen's Quartet. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, check out Katie's videos. Once again, I'm going to keep plugging her because those videos are just so good. Please comment down below which of these characters you think is the most interesting. I don't have an answer for you because, as my characters, I think they're all super interesting. And you can subscribe to my channel for more content. Bye!